The psychology of observing people. Have you ever looked at someone and felt something you couldn't explain? They smiled, they spoke politely. Everything seemed normal, but deep inside, something felt different. Something felt hidden. Maybe you've met someone like that before. Someone who looked trustworthy at first, but later proved to be completely different. Or maybe someone seemed cold and distant, but turned out to be one of the most genuine people you've ever known. This happens because human beings are far more complex than words. People rarely reveal themselves immediately. Instead, they leave clues, small clues, tiny signals. A pause before answering, a forced smile. The way they treat a waiter. The way they react when things go wrong. The silence after a difficult question. The eyes during an apology. These details matter. But most people never notice them. Why? Because most people are trained to listen, but not trained to observe. We hear words. We accept explanations. We trust appearances. And sometimes, that costs us everything. A bad friendship, a toxic relationship, a dishonest business partner, a missed opportunity, a broken trust. All because we failed to notice what was right in front of us. The truth is, people are always communicating. Even when they say nothing, their body speaks, their habits speak, their reactions speak, their patterns speak. And psychology helps us understand that silent language. This is not about becoming suspicious of everyone. This is not about judging people too quickly. This is about awareness. Because awareness protects you. Awareness improves relationships. Awareness helps you understand people beyond performance. And once you learn how to observe people correctly, you stop being easily manipulated. You stop ignoring red flags. You stop trusting charm over character. You start seeing reality more clearly today. We are exploring the psychology of observing people. How to read behavior, how to understand hidden emotions, how to notice truth without asking for it, and how the smallest details often reveal the biggest truths. Because the smartest people in the room, are not always the loudest. Sometimes, they're simply the ones who observe. And after this video, you may never look at people the same way again. Let's begin. Most people believe that understanding others is simple. They think if someone says something clearly, then it must be true. If someone smiles, they must be happy. If someone says, "Trust me," they must be trustworthy. If someone looks confident, they must be competent. But real life does not work like that. Because words are easy. Words can be chosen. Words can be practiced. Words can be manipulated. People can say exactly what you want to hear, and sometimes, they do. Someone says, "I care about you." But they disappear when you need them most. Someone says, "I respect you," but they only respect you when it benefits them. Someone says, "I'm happy for you," but their reaction feels heavy with jealousy. Words are often the surface. Behavior is the truth underneath. The problem is, most people are trained to trust the surface. We grow up learning how to speak, but rarely how to observe. We learn grammar, but not human behavior. We learn how to answer questions, but not how to notice discomfort. We learn how to impress people, but not how to understand them. And because of that, we make expensive mistakes. We trust people too quickly. We ignore warning signs. We confuse attention with care, charm with sincerity, confidence with maturity, and appearance with character. This happens everywhere. In friendships, in relationships, in business, even in family. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most were the ones we defended the hardest. Not because we were foolish, but because we were not paying attention. Observation is a skill, and like every skill, it must be trained. Because people do not always reveal truth directly, sometimes truth appears in contradiction. They say one thing, but do another. They promise loyalty, but disappear during difficulty. They offer kindness, but disrespect people with less power. That contradiction matters. Psychology teaches us that consistency reveals character, not performance, not first impressions. Not perfect words, consistency. But modern life rewards speed, fast opinions, fast relationships, fast judgment. People decide who someone is in 30 seconds. And often regret it for years. Real understanding takes time. You cannot read a person in one conversation. You read them in repetition, in habits, in pressure, in disappointment, in ordinary moments. That is where the truth lives. Not in big speeches but in small patterns. The greatest advantage you can have in life is not just intelligence. It is awareness, because awareness helps you protect your peace, your time, your energy, your trust, and your future. People will always show you who they are. The question is, are you paying attention? One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to understand others is judging someone based on a single moment. One good action, one bad day, one impressive conversation, one emotional reaction, and from that single moment, they create a complete story. But psychology does not work like that. People are not defined by isolated moments. They are defined by patterns. A person being kind once, that does not automatically make them kind. A person being rude once, does not automatically make them cruel. A person being late, once, may simply be human, but being late every single time, that becomes a pattern. And patterns reveal truth. Anyone can perform once. Anyone can create a strong first impression. Anyone can act generous when people are watching. Anyone can look confident for one meeting, but repetition is harder to fake. Consistency exposes character. This is where observation becomes powerful. Instead of asking, what did they do today? Ask, what do they do repeatedly? How do they handle responsibility again and again? How do they treat people who cannot benefit them? How do they behave when nobody is watching? How do they respond when they no longer need your approval? That is where the real person lives. Not in performance, but in repetition. Many people fall in love with moments. A beautiful apology, a romantic gesture, a powerful promise, a perfect beginning. But a moment is not a lifestyle. A promise is not proof. Words are easy. Patterns are evidence. For example, someone may apologize beautifully. They may sound sincere. They may cry. They may promise change. But if the same behavior repeats next week, the apology was performance, not transformation. Real change creates new patterns, not new speeches. This applies in every part of life. Friendship, business, love, leadership, even. Self-growth. Do not trust intensity, trust consistency. Because intensity can be emotional. Consistency is intentional. Some people are excellent at first impressions. They are charming, funny, confident, interesting. They know how to make people feel special quickly. But time reveals what charm hides. Do they respect boundaries? Do they keep promises? Do they show up when life becomes inconvenient? Do they stay the same when there is nothing to gain? That matters more than charm ever will. Psychology teaches us that repeated behavior becomes identity, because habits are not accidents. Habits are decisions repeated so often, they become automatic. That automatic behavior is often the truest version of someone, not the polished version, not the social version, the default version. And that is the version you must learn to observe. Here is a simple rule. Never trust words more than repeated actions. If someone says they care, don't watch consistency. If someone says they are loyal, watch behavior during hard times. If someone says they respect you, watch how they treat your boundaries. Patterns answer questions that words cannot. And sometimes, the truth is uncomfortable. Because we want to believe potential. We want to believe promises. We want to believe the version of people we imagined. But observation demands honesty. It asks, who are they repeatedly? Not, who do I hope they become? That question can save you years of pain. Because moments create emotion, patterns create reality. And reality always wins. Anyone can look good when life is easy, when things are going well, when there is comfort, when there is success, when there is no real challenge, Almost everyone appears calm, kind, and confident. Politeness is easy in peace. Patience is easy in comfort. Generosity is easy when there is abundance. But pressure changes everything. Pressure removes the mask. Stress reveals what comfort hides. This is one of the strongest psychological truths about human behavior. People show their real character when life stops being convenient. Not during celebration, but during frustration. Not during success, but during failure. Not when they are winning, but when they feel they are losing. Watch how someone reacts when they hear no. Watch how they respond to rejection. Watch how they handle criticism. Watch how they behave when plans fail. Watch how they treat people when they are tired, stressed, or disappointed. That version matters, because emotional pressure exposes emotional maturity. For example, someone may seem incredibly kind, until they feel disrespected. Then, suddenly, they become cruel. Someone may appear confident, until they receive criticism. Then they become defensive, aggressive, or manipulative. Someone may seem patient, until they are forced to wait. Then, irritation takes over. These moments are not random. They are psychological mirrors. They reflect emotional regulation, self-control, ego, security, respect, and maturity. Pressure does not create character, it reveals it. Think about small, everyday situations: a delayed food order, a traffic jam, a disagreement with a partner, a mistake at work, a cancelled plan, a lost opportunity. These moments may seem small, but psychologically, they are powerful. Because in small frustrations, people stop performing. They react naturally. And natural reactions tell the truth. How someone treats service workers is a powerful example. A person may treat their boss with perfect respect, but treat a waiter with impatience and superiority. That matters, because respect shown upward can be strategy. Respect shown downward is character. Another powerful moment is failure. Success often hides flaws. Failure exposes them. When people fail, do they take responsibility? Do they learn? Do they stay humble? Or do they blame everyone else? Do they become bitter? Do they attack others to protect their ego? Failure reveals whether confidence was real or just fragile pride. And then there is power. Power is another form of pressure. Give someone status, give them control, give them influence, and watch what happens. Do they become arrogant? Do they become careless? Do they lose empathy? Or do they remain grounded? Many people are kind when they need something. Very few stay kind when they no longer need anyone. That is why power reveals character so clearly. Psychology teaches us this: stress and power are truth amplifiers. They make hidden traits louder. Insecurity becomes control. Jealousy becomes sabotage. Kindness becomes leadership. Wisdom becomes calm. What was small becomes visible. This is why observation during difficult moments matters more than observation during easy ones. Do not judge people only by how they act on good days. Everyone shines in sunlight. Watch who they become in storms, because storms do not lie. And often, the version of someone you meet during pressure is the version you should trust most. Not their perfect introduction, not their polished image, but their response when life gets hard. That is where the real person lives. Most people think observation means paying attention to words, but some of the most important truths in human psychology are found in silence. Not in what people say but in what they avoid saying. Because silence speaks. Hesitation speaks. Avoidance speaks. Timing speaks. And sometimes, what is missing tells you more than what is present. Think about a simple question: are you okay? Some people answer immediately, yes, I'm fine. But the pause before the answer tells a different story. The forced smile tells a different story. The change in eye contact tells a different story. The sudden subject change tells a different story. The sudden subject change tells a different story. Words may say, fine. Behavior may say, help. This is why observation requires more than hearing. It requires presence. You must notice the gap between language and emotion. For example, when someone becomes unusually defensive over a small question, that reaction matters. When someone avoids a topic completely, that matters. Not because it proves guilt, but because it reveals emotional significance. And that distinction is important. Observation is not accusation. It is awareness. You are not trying to become suspicious of everyone. You are trying to become conscious of emotional signals. Sometimes people lie. Sometimes people protect themselves. Sometimes people are simply afraid. Fear creates silence. Shame creates avoidance. Insecurity creates over-explaining. Guilt creates discomfort. Desire creates attention. All of these emotions leave traces, and those traces are often quiet. For example, truth is usually simple. A genuine answer often feels natural, clear, direct. But deception often requires management. More details than necessary. Too much control over the story. Answers that sound prepared instead of real. This does not mean detail always equals dishonesty. But it does mean emotional tension deserves attention. Notice when someone answers a question you didn't actually ask. Notice when they redirect. Notice when they suddenly become overly charming. Notice when they respond with anger instead of clarity. These are psychological signals, not proof. Signals, and wise people learn the difference, because assumption is dangerous. But awareness is powerful. Another important form of silence is emotional absence. Someone may be physically present, but psychologically distant. They respond, but without warmth. They listen, but without connection. They stay, but without investment. That absence matters, because attention is emotional truth. People naturally give energy to what matters to them, and emotional withdrawal often begins long before words explain it. This happens in friendships, in love, in work, in family. Sometimes, the relationship changes quietly, before anyone says it out loud, and if you only listen to words, you will miss it. Observation helps you catch reality early, before disappointment becomes damage, before confusion becomes heartbreak, before trust becomes regret. There is also power in noticing what people never mention, what topics always disappear, what truths are always avoided. What conversations create visible discomfort? Sometimes people reveal their deepest fears through the subjects they refuse to touch. Money, failure, commitment, family, loneliness. These silences are emotional maps. They show where pain lives, and understanding pain helps. You understand behavior because many people are not difficult. They are wounded. Not cold, but afraid. Not distant, but unhealed. Psychology becomes powerful when observation meets compassion, because the goal is not to expose people, it is to understand them. And sometimes, understanding begins with learning how to hear. Silence, because the loudest truths in life are often the ones never spoken. Before we continue, I want you to pause for a moment. Not for me, for yourself. Think about the people in your life right now. Your closest friend, your partner, your family, your coworkers, the people you trust, the people you feel uncertain about, the people who make your life peaceful, and the people who quietly drain your energy. Now ask yourself one honest question. Do you truly understand them, or have you only been listening to their words? Because many of us believe we know people, when in reality, we only know the version they choose to show us. We know their explanations, their stories, their promises, their polished image. But do we know their patterns? Do we know how they behave under pressure? Do we know how they treat people with no status? Do we know how they act when they are disappointed? Do we know who they become when nobody is watching? That is the real question. Because understanding people is not about collecting information. It is about recognizing truth. Sometimes, the people closest to us are the ones we understand the least. Not because they are hiding, but because familiarity creates blindness. We assume, we stop observing, We trust routine more than reality. And slowly, we stop seeing clearly. This is why awareness matters, not just with strangers, but with the people we love, because good observation improves relationships. It helps you communicate better, protect boundaries better, choose trust more wisely, and avoid unnecessary pain. But there is one area where observation becomes even more powerful. Body language. Because before people explain themselves, their body often speaks first. A smile that feels forced, eye contact that disappears, arms that close, feet pointing toward the exit, a voice that changes when a certain name is mentioned. These details are not random, they are psychological signals. And most people miss them completely. In the next section, we are going deeper into that silent language. How body language reveals emotion. How small movements expose hidden truth, and how you can understand people without needing them to say a single word. This may be the part that changes the way you see conversations forever. Because once you learn how to read behavior correctly, you start noticing things you can never unsee. Let's continue. Long before human beings learned how to speak with words, we spoke with movement, with posture, with distance, with expression, with silence. And even today, the body often tells the truth before the mouth does. This is why body language matters so much. Because people can control words. Because people can control words, but controlling the body completely is much harder, especially during emotion, especially under stress, especially when truth and performance are fighting each other. A person may say, "I'm happy to see you," but their body leans away, their smile disappears too quickly. Their eyes do not match their words, something feels disconnected. That feeling is often observation working quietly. Your mind notices signals before your logic explains them, and body language is full of those signals. Crossed arms, tight shoulders, a clenched jaw, restless hands, rapid blinking, avoiding eye contact, too much eye contact, forced, laughter, leaning in, leaning away. Feet pointing toward the door, a sudden change in breathing, micro-expressions that last less than a second. These are not random movements, they are emotional information. But here is the most important rule. Never judge one signal alone. Context matters. A person crossing their arms may feel defensive, or they may simply be cold. Someone avoiding eye contact may be hiding something, or they may simply be shy. Observation without context becomes assumption, and assumption creates mistakes. Good observation looks for clusters, not isolated signals. Several signs together create a clearer picture. For example, someone says yes, but their body pulls back. Their voice becomes quieter. Their smile looks tense. Their feet turn away. That combination tells more truth than the word yes alone. The body leaks honesty. Not perfectly, but often enough to matter. One of the strongest signals is congruence. When words and body match, someone says they are excited, and you can feel it. Their posture opens. Their energy rises. Their eyes become alive. That feels real. But when words and body conflict, pay attention. Someone says, "I trust you," while keeping emotional distance. Someone says, "I'm not upset," while their jaw tightens. Someone says, "Take your time," while impatience fills the room. Incongruence creates psychological tension, and tension often points toward hidden emotion. Another powerful area is personal space. Distance communicates comfort. When people trust, they naturally relax. They face you, they stay present, they allow closeness. When they feel unsafe, their body creates distance, even subtly, a small step back, a turned shoulder, a shorter response, less eye contact, less openness. The body protects itself before words explain why. This is especially important in relationships. Many people wait for direct communication, but often, the body starts the conversation first. Interest, discomfort, fear, attraction, resentment, withdrawal, all these emotions appear physically before they become verbal. That is why emotionally intelligent people pay attention to energy, not just language. They notice what changed, because change matters. If someone who was warm becomes distant, notice. If someone confident becomes unusually quiet, notice. If someone relaxed becomes tense around one specific person, notice. Change is often more revealing than behavior itself, because sudden change points to emotional cause, and then there is the smile. One of the most misunderstood signals. Not every smile means happiness. Some smiles are polite. Some are nervous, some are protective, some hide discomfort. Real smiles reach the eyes. Forced smiles often stop at the mouth. And once you learn the difference, you start seeing social masks everywhere. But remember, the goal is not paranoia, it is awareness. You are not trying to catch people, you are learning to understand them more honestly. Because body language is not about suspicion. It is about clarity. It helps you become present. It helps you listen better. It helps you respond with intelligence instead of assumption. And most importantly, it helps you trust reality over performance. Because words can be edited, but the body is always speaking. The question is, are you listening? If you want to understand someone deeply, do not start by asking what they believe. Start by watching what they pay attention to, because attention is never random. Attention is emotional investment. It reveals priorities. It reveals desire. It reveals fear. It reveals values. People may tell you what matters to them, but their attention tells you what truly does. Someone may say they value family, but give all their energy to status. Someone may say they value peace, but constantly chase drama. Someone may say they value honesty, but become uncomfortable around truth. Words describe identity. Attention reveals reality. Watch what people notice first. When they enter a room, what do they scan? Status, beauty, opportunity, threat, approval, competition, comfort. This matters. Because what people notice first often reflects what controls them most. A person obsessed with status notices hierarchy everywhere. Who has power? Who gets respect? Who receives attention? Who is above or below them? A person driven by insecurity notices comparison. Who looks better? Who earns more? Who succeeds faster? Who gets chosen? A person rooted in kindness notices suffering. Who feels left out? Who needs help? Who is uncomfortable? Who is silently struggling? Different minds notice different worlds, and that tells you everything. Another powerful signal is memory. What people remember reveals what they value. Do they remember your weaknesses or your dreams? Do they remember your mistakes or your efforts? Do they remember details that help them control or details that help them care? Memory follows emotion. We remember what matters to us, and what matters to us reveals who we are. This is why repeated conversation topics are important. Listen to what people return to again and again. Money, respect, recognition, revenge, appearance, freedom, security, validation, control, peace, growth, there. Repeated focus is a psychological map. It shows what they are chasing, and often what they are missing. People chase externally, what they feel internally deprived of. Someone desperate for validation may constantly seek approval. Someone lacking control may try to control everyone else. Someone starving for peace may withdraw from chaos. Behavior makes more sense when you understand emotional hunger. And attention reveals hunger. This applies strongly in relationships. Who gets someone's best energy? Not their leftover time, their best attention, because attention is love in visible form. People protect what matters. They invest in what matters. They remember what matters. They return to what matters. This is why inconsistency hurts so much, because it reveals truth. When effort disappears, attention moved somewhere, and attention rarely lies. There is also power in noticing what people ignore. Neglect reveals values too. Someone who ignores gratitude, someone who ignores boundaries, someone who ignores accountability, someone who ignores kindness. absence is information. Not all neglect is intentional, but repeated neglect is meaningful. Psychology teaches us that values drive decisions. Always, people move toward what they worship. Even if they never say it. Even if they deny it. Even if they do not fully understand it themselves. That is why observation matters. Because once you understand someone's values, you can predict behavior. Not perfectly but powerfully. You understand what they will protect, what they will sacrifice, what they will tolerate, what they will fight for, and suddenly, their choices make sense. People are not random, they are patterned by values, and values become visible through attention. So if you want to know who someone really is, watch where their attention goes, when nobody is telling them where to look. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.